Hello, I'm Robert, and this is to help you if you are panicking about the universe vanishing. And if you haven't come across this idea before, I suggest rather than watch this video that you just read this debunk by Tommi Markkanen, who's an expert on the topic, and then you should be fine after that. And he explains very carefully that there's no realistic concern about this idea. And this, I find it's almost like a vaccination. It inoculates people against being scared. So this video is not for those of you who I just link to this post, and then someone who comes and say, oh, I come across this theory, it's quite scary. Someone said the universe is going to vanish. And I say, well, there's nothing to be worried about. It's nothing to be scared of. There's no realistic possibility. Take a look at this fact check debunk, and then that's it over. So the people who need special help, and sometimes they need weeks, months, years of help, are the ones who've been panicking about this by themselves for weeks to months, and they've been watching loads and loads of videos, often over and over again, by people who are falsely telling them that they're about to vanish. And these are the people who get really scared. So this is who I've done this video for. And so I show this to them, but they've just been panicking for so long, often haven't talked to anyone about it. I'm the first person they've ever talked to about it sometimes. And they've just had it all bottled up inside, and they've been panicking more and more and more, spending lots of time indoors, stopping all their normal activities. They no longer leave their house maybe, and they're spending all their time on YouTube watching these videos that tell them falsely that the universe is about to vanish. And it's like if you imagine that you said to yourself over and over again, 6 times 7 is 47, 6 times 7 is 47, 6 times 7 is 47. You say that over and over and over and over again, then you might find it very hard to believe that 6 times 7 is really 42. And that's basically what's happening here. So so this is me to try to really reinforce and help you to understand that what Tommi Markkanen is telling you is the truth and is the way things really are. So I'll just quickly go through his answers, and then I want to show you some visual graphics that I find help people with this. So first of all, just to go quickly through what he says. So people often ask, is there a realistic chance of the universe vanishing in this most extraordinary way? And he says the answer is a resounding no. And he says, I assume you're referring to the standard model, and then you can actually calculate it based on various numbers and things you can measure. And you work out something which is vastly impossible, which is an incredibly impossible thing. It just can't happen. And in every practical sense, there's no chance of this happening. And then they say, well, then people will start worrying because people in these videos and so on say this just to try and hype it up. So then the next thing is, but could they come some other measurement and find the measurements are wrong? And could they discover that after all that the universe is about to vanish, even though before the theory says that it's so vastly impossible that you can't, there's no practical sense. And he says, well, what helps here is just how old the universe is. So the universe is 13.8 million millennia. So 1,000-year periods has gone by, then another one, another one, and then another one. That's happened 13.8 million times. That's one estimate of the age of the universe. It's around that, probably well over 13 million millennia. So if there was a high chance of this universe vanishing in each of those millennia, then it would no longer be here. So this is actually something that they do it the other way around. And so people like him who research into the into the way that the cosmos, this force vacuum decay theory, and he's an absolute expert on it. Or he's now left academia. He's doing something else, but he spent many years studying the force vacuum decay and writing papers, and he's led a conference and all that sort of thing. So he was very big in the field, and he knew it absolutely thoroughly, just like all the other researchers on the force vacuum decay. Very he was just a very good researcher on the field, and so you can rely on what he says. He knows what he's talking about. He understands the maths and the physics. And so that's he was actually involved in this. In one of his papers is about just saying, well, look, the universe is here, so therefore, and then he lists a lot of things that theories that he knows are wrong because they predict that the universe should have vanished. You look and say, well, look, the universe is still here. And it's become a new way of doing science, a new form of observation, where you just say, well, look, the universe exists, so therefore we can conclude that this theory is wrong. And it's a new way of disproving certain theories, because obviously if they proved that the universe should have vanished 13.8 million years ago, there's something wrong with the theory. And then you ask again, is there anything that could cause a force vacuum decay, like black holes or cosmic strings? So these are various things. Black holes, they do exist. Cosmic strings, we don't know if they exist. And if they are, they probably all disintegrated in the very early universe because they wouldn't have lasted very long. But so you go and look at this and you say, could any of these have caused the universe to collapse on itself? And then it's the same form of reasoning. Some people come up with kind of reasoning that say, well, look, there's a particular way that a black hole might cause this to happen, but then if that was true, it should have already happened. It hasn't. So to basically understand the background here is that the universe started off extremely hot and extremely dense, and nobody in the universe can duplicate anything like that, because you'd first have to collect together all the galaxies in the entire observable universe and compress them all together into a tiny spot, smaller than the nucleus of the center of a hydrogen atom. But it would also have to be expanding very rapidly, otherwise you just form a black hole, which is not what we're talking about here. And there's no possibility of doing that. So there's no way you can really duplicate. We can duplicate some aspects of a bit later on in the early universe. We can't duplicate way back here where they're thinking about for this. So from Tommi's point of view, then the early universe, all the interesting stuff happened in the first microsecond. It's all over by then. And then since then, it's just been dull, boring, all the same ever since. So so as you say, this happened to everything. But if you look, let's keep on going with this. So there's so in the early universe, first of all, you had this very rapid change which happened in less than a microsecond when the different kinds of fields, like the electroweak field and the strong field, and electroweak explains electricity, it explains magnetism, it explains something else called the weak force, which we don't notice it much in daily life, and it has some very small effects. And before, when the universe was very, very hot, there was a unified field, according to modern ideas, and this hadn't separated out, so there wasn't anything such as magnetism or electricity yet, because it was all one unified field. And then during the first microsecond, at a certain point, this separated out, and there was this electroweak field. So you got these sudden transitions in the very early universe. It was cooling down. But since then, nothing has changed. And the universe has just been exactly the same ever since. And so that's what he's talking about there. And that's when it should have happened. In the extremely rapid expansion. And it does, in some theories it gets easily triggered, but the universe would have already decayed by then if those theories were correct. So they're obviously not. And then there's also the idea of black holes, cosmic strings, and so on. They happen a little bit later, a few 100 million years and some things still happening for a few billion years after that hadn't happened before. All that is all over long, long ago. So there's nothing new, from the point of view. There's lots of things new from our point of view. Even on our Earth, lots of things happening new every year. But from the point of view of cosmologists like Tommi, looking at the universe as a whole, all the interesting stuff happened in the first microsecond. Some moderately interesting stuff happened in the first few 100 million years. And since then, it's been very boring. Nothing's changed. Nothing's happened. So this is just a new millennium like all the other 13.8 million millennia. And so, as he says, the nice thing is that everything, all known and unknown possibilities, are dealt with this reasoning. It seems to be a very long-lived beast because it's already been around for a long time. And our cosmic epoch, the present time, our millennium, it's not in any way special. It's rather boring compared to the early universe. And so it will just keep on going just like it has done for the previous many, many millennia. And so this is my summary of what he says. Force vacuum decay is of absolutely no concern. And the prediction, first of all, the standard model means in every practical sense there's no chance of this happening. And then we know also, just for anything that you might worry about, even, and I made up this fanciful idea of being eaten by a cow, which is obviously rather silly, but no matter what you make up for the entire universe, then whether silly or very elaborate and worked out in great detail, it doesn't matter what you do, just from how long it's lived, then there's our millennium is not in any way special, and it's going to keep going as it's done for previous many, many millennia. And it doesn't matter what we discover about the universe. There's nothing we can do that could trigger a force vacuum decay. You get these experiments that confuse people. They're experiments with Bose-Einstein condensates, and they are just a way of, it's something that has the same equations as space-time, but it isn't space-time. It's just a very, very cold atoms stuck together in a rather interesting way. And it's very much like, for instance, you get people who spin liquid water around in a kind of cylinder. They spin very, very fast, and during that they can duplicate the atmosphere of Jupiter. Because it just so happens that if you spin water very, very fast, it's very similar in the equations that you use to the equations for the atmosphere of a gas giant like Jupiter spinning very slowly. So gas spinning very slowly is like water spinning very fast. And you spin to just the right speed, you can duplicate and get effects very similar to gas giants spinning slowly. But of course, the spinning water isn't a gas giant. And in the same way, these Bose-Einstein condensates are not force vacuum. It's not space-time. It's not really a force vacuum decay. It's just something that looks like it. So we can do those things in the laboratory. They obviously do nothing to the universe. They do nothing to space-time. They're just playing around with the same equations. And so you don't need to worry about those. And there's nothing we can do that can do anything to the universe as a whole. So now so you don't need to worry about humans doing anything, and you don't need to worry about anything outside of anything, whether it's known or unknown, doesn't matter what it is. As he said, any known or unknown possibilities. You don't need to worry about any of them because the universe has lasted for so long anyway already. So now, for most people, that's it over. They're not going to be panicking anymore at that point. But I have these graphics that will help you if you still are scared. And the reason you would still be scared is because you've been panicking for a long time and it just got into your mind and you're just constantly, every minute of the day or whenever you're awake, you're constantly thinking, oh, I'm just about to vanish, what can I do? So if you've got that and you've got stuck in this rut in your thinking, and a therapist can help a lot with people who are stuck in ruts. So they don't know about forced vacuum decay. They're not going to be expert on this. But you can show them Tommi Markkanen's debunk. They can read it, they'll understand it. It's written so anyone can understand it. It's not meant for scientists. This is meant for the likes of us to understand. So you can show this to your therapist and say, this is what I'm scared of. I know that it's been fact-checked and shown to be not something to be scared of at all, but I'm still scared. And so what can you do? So then they can help people who are scared, and it wouldn't be really much different if you're scared of anything really, because you've got panicking over something. You're like a war veteran who's scared of twig snapping because they got because of they got I forget what it's called, but it's like PTSD for people who've been through wars. And eventually you can get over these things, and therapists can help a lot. So what I can help with is with the and some medications too. Your doctor may be able to help with some medications once they know what it is you're scared of, but that you're scared of, and some idea of what they're dealing with. And there's lots of help out there. And then just the empathy of people you know very well and who you trust. And they can do a lot with that too. So anyway, so now I'm going to help with this idea with, these are my graphics to help you if you're still panicking. And so first of all, people who come to me and you're panicking many times a day and you just keep panicking every day that the world's going to vanish, the universe is going to vanish, everything's going to go, you're going to go. Then try thinking back, way back. So you've got early human beings, humans evolved 200,000 years ago, going back and back and back. We have these things look quite a little bit like apes, but then they first started to walk back here, and then you go back and there are things that they're much more like, they're like shrews, they're tiny small mammals. You go back, you get fish that started to walk on beaches, and you go back and you get things that look very much like kind of wormy things. Then you've got, these are just little, very microscopic at this stage, these individual microbes. So over all that time the universe hasn't vanished. And so now imagine just fancifully that this microbe starts worrying. I know microbes can't worry, but it's just to give you something to think about. So the kind of metaphor to help you to see how long the time period has been. So imagine those very early microbes when the Earth first formed 4.5 billion years ago, saying, help, the universe is going to vanish. And so and then someone else helpfully says, oh, another microbe says to that microbe, oh, it's okay, and nothing's going to happen to your lifetime. Look at all your previous ancestors. So imagine this is a few million ancestors, microbe lifetimes into the beginning of the Earth, and none of them died in this extraordinary way, and everything's going to be fine with you. And so they keep on going down. The universe is going to vanish. The universe will vanish. No change. Nothing happens. And on and on. So if you try and think through all that vast time scale, and all that time, the universe never vanished. So why would it vanish in this millennium? It doesn't make sense, does it? Remember, it's like the blue beads taken out of the back, and every time you get a new millennium with the universe not vanishing, that increases your confidence that the next millennium will be okay. If you imagine that all this time, then after all these millions of millennia, then you at some point your body will start going away. So and so then there's another thing you can do. You can look at all the past US presidents and think, they go past quite a long time, or kings and queens of England and Britain, and go and look past all those. And would you go back and tell, what early US president that they should worry about a false vacuum decay? Of course not. And nothing happened to any of them. None of them have died in this extraordinary way, nor have any of the kings and queens of England and Britain. And then you could go past through previous, like Stonehenge, the pyramids, like the Indus Valley civilization, Upper and Lower Egypt, Neolithic civilization, cuneiform, and just go back and back and back. And none of them has ever, none of the civilizations ended in this extraordinary way. No human being has ever died in this extraordinary way. And then here's another way of doing it. This is a page. I can bring this up in a new tab, and I can tab over it in a minute. So this shows, I think it will be there. Let's see if it's there. Right. So I think part of this will be clipped off the page because I didn't prepare for it. But if you go down, you see all these. This actually goes quite a long way across. You only see a bit of it. You're only going to see it. Yes, you're only going to see the middle of it, I think. There's lots of M's to the left and right, and you scroll down, vast numbers of M's, on and on and on and on. And then you can go and click, and it'll show the Big Bang, when the Earth was born, and the end of the dinosaurs. I'll do I can do a separate thing about this. You get the evolution of humans, and then you get today. Each of those M's represents 1,000 years. And it's a vast file, it goes on and on and on. I'll do that as a separate video for you so you can see it properly. And then here's another way to look at it. So if you look at this graphic, and it's got black and white pixels and with some grey for the text, but it's just lots of black and white pixels alternating. And in the corner there's one red pixel, and there's a million of those. This is to give you an idea of how vast a period a million millennia are. Vast. You see this arrow? That's an arrow there, right? You see an arrow at the top left there? This is a zoom in on it. You see a tiny red dot. And zoom in again, and there it is. And it's all these black dots. So imagine all these black dots are the millennia that have already passed. That red dot is the one that's just going to happen. And false vacuum has never happened in all those millennia, and you've got to imagine 13 of these graphics. All are completely boring, uneventful millennia, and you've got just a tiny little red dot in the top right of the first one, which is the next millennium. So why would anything happen in the next millennium? It doesn't make sense. And so then, if to help with also you could do breathing in and out. If you get panic attacks, and doctors can help you with advice as to how to deal with panic attacks. One of the things is to breathe in and out slowly. And then there are many de-stress activities you can do. And what I find happens when the people who come to me who have been panicking about this for weeks, months or years, then what happens is that they shut down all their ordinary activities. They stop socializing with people. They stop leaving their home because they're afraid to leave home, because they want to be at home when the false vacuum decay happens. And they go and spend hours every day searching online, watching and rewatching these videos, and basically indoctrinating themselves with this idea that they're going to vanish. And they've been doing this for weeks, months, or sometimes years. And so it's no surprising that you've got this idea stuck in your mind. It's like saying over and over that 6 times 7 is 47. Then you're going to find it very difficult to do arithmetic properly and learn that it's actually 42. It's basically this that you've done with watching these completely, and they share some of these videos that they've watched, and they're just nonsense. They're by people who don't have a clue. They wouldn't understand a single equation of the maths of a false vacuum decay. Now, I trained in maths, but this is a very, very specialist area. And the maths that I did, there'll only be a few dozen people in the world who could understand that. The maths that Tommi Markkanen did, then again, it's only a few dozen people in the entire world who can understand his equations and what they really mean. It's very, very, very specialist. So when you go and see a video by people who claim they understand, you can be absolutely sure they don't, unless they're an expert like Tommi. And then, sadly, you can get experts who hype it up as well, who think it's fun to hype it up. But they're not telling you it right as well. What Tommi has told you is just straightforward, realistic. It's just like your maths teacher teaching you maths. He's explained to you how it works. So once you understand all this and you've realized that you're safe logically, then you need to just disengage. You don't need to find out what the latest number is for the false vacuum decay. Remember that this reasoning that I just explained, it is for anything and everything. So you don't need to keep monitoring this, because you say everything, I mean all known and unknown possibilities. So you don't need to keep going online to try and find out what's the latest discovery about the false vacuum and read these incredibly impossible to read papers full of lots of words you don't understand and lots of equations. And then occasional words you might pick up from time to time here and there, and you think, oh, this looks scary, because you just don't understand it. That is not a good way to spend your time if you're scared of this. So Tommi has already explained it to you. There's nothing to be scared of, and you can also just ground yourself. This idea about all these millions of millennia, this is absolutely, what I'm explaining to you is just basic science, basic understanding, Bayesian probability, and it's a perfectly valid way of reasoning. And so you just need to get used to this way of reasoning, and anyone can understand it. It's not difficult to understand the 13.8 million millennia, and then to get some idea how vast a time scale it is. So once you've done that, and you've got this idea, and you understand, and you can understand the universe is very long-lived, and there can't even be unknown things that you need to worry about. So then use any methods you can to just kind of help you ground yourself in this. And then try to start doing normal things again. Try socializing, go to the gym, play games, computer games with your friends, watch movies and so on. And even if the idea keeps coming up, then don't worry, just let it come. And this is kind of really difficult as well. This is where therapists can help very well. I can't really help with this so well, because it's not not what I do. But people tend to, if you've been panicking all this time and you're trying to calm down, you tend to try and push this out and say, no, I'm not going to vanish, I'm not going to vanish, I'm not going to vanish. And then this idea will keep coming back that you're going to vanish, because you're trying to stop it. You're trying to suppress it. And the more you try and push it down, the more it's going to come back. And it just really fills your mind and gets very overwhelming. And so you need help. And it's very difficult if you've been doing this for weeks and months. You've been panicking more and more and trying to stop your panic in this unskilled way, because it's just the natural way to do it, but it doesn't actually work. It's to try to stamp down on it, and that just makes it more and more stronger. So you need to get more gentle with your mind, and unintuitive as it is, the ideas need to come and go. It's like watching trains come and go, and just basically in a subway station and you don't get on. Then if you do find that you get engaged with it, then you just get off at the next station and leave them going back and forth again. And just try to be as gentle as you can with your mind. Do try to get a therapist who can help you with all this, if you possibly can. You may find that there's some medications that help some people, and it's especially people whose minds get in ruts. The medication is antidepressants, but they help you if your mind gets in a rut. And it's particularly the rut, getting out of a rut. There's some medications that can help you with that, because you've developed a chemical imbalance of some sort in your mind by doing all this. That's partly what's reinforcing it. So these drugs can help with that, and you typically would use them for a short period of time because you don't want to get kind of dependent on them. And so for a certain period of time you take it with the advice of a doctor. And so there are quite a lot of things you can do, and then just keep going on with your ordinary everyday activities. Try and do things that you enjoy. Try and keep physically active. Eat good food. Do things that help you to sleep easily. Play calming, relaxing music, and watch movies that you find inspiring. And look, instead of looking for things that make you depressed and things that reinforce your fear, which is a kind of instinctive thing that we do, then look for things that you find are positive and helpful. And for a lot of people, socializing is part of that. So whatever is your normal baseline here. So it's not about artificially suddenly becoming the soul of the party if that's not you, but just whatever it is normal for you. Like if from time to time you see a few friends, or if you're a great party goer, it just depends on whatever is your baseline. And then other things that are things like physical activities that you might do, like hobbies you enjoy, or like it might be things like martial arts. Some people find that, or sailing, or music, or art, or photography. And a lot of people enjoy photography, so that can be a useful hobby. And then just things like, just if you have been stuck at home and you're just afraid to even leave your house, then you just little baby steps at a time, and then gradually see that nothing happens when you leave your house, and just not trying to force anything, and gradually, and just get back into a more normal way of doing things. And the more you do that, the more it'll be easier to do the other things, like talking to people about it, and getting help and seeking help, and then gradually over time you can get over this. And so for some of the people I've helped, it's taken. So the people who come to me first, who have not been through all this panicking, they're just over it in minutes. But for the people who've been panicking for a long time, then it can take weeks, it can take months, in some cases it can take years. But it's not all the same all the time. So you hopefully get a certain level of immediate relief just from seeing the fact checks after you've been panicking all this time. And then your mind will go up and down. Typically, the people I help, they kind of understand the fact check for a little while, for a few seconds, for a few minutes, and they're off panicking again. And they're asking me back and forth, and often dozens of times a day when they're really panicking. And then they gradually calm down over a period of time, just because they're so used to panicking all the time. It's like you dug a deep rut in a muddy track, then you try and cycle down it and avoid the rut. Your wheel of your bicycle will get into it. It's very difficult to get out of it again. That's all that's happening here. It's not because it's valid. And just remind yourself that being scared of something doesn't mean that there's anything to be scared of. So things like if you hear a snapping twig and you panic, it doesn't mean the snapping twig is dangerous. It just means that you panic. If you're scared, you can be scared of a shadow, of a snapping twig. You can be scared of heights. You can be scared of enclosed spaces or open spaces. Scared of spiders. You can be scared of all sorts of things. It does not mean that these things are dangerous. So try and remind yourself, and you can actually get a feeling of impending doom, which is probably very similar to what people feel like if they've got force vacuum decay. And I'm not suggesting anyone does this, I've never tried this, I'm not going to try it. But apparently, if you eat loads and loads and loads of nutmegs, too many, then you will get this feeling of impending doom. You can also get it if you're stung by a particular jellyfish. And it's just a feeling. And you're not going to die of eating lots of nutmegs, but you get a feeling as if you're going to, of some doom that's going to happen, which doesn't happen. So it's just a feeling like that. It is not telling you the truth. And so just gradually realize that it's just a feeling, and it's an incorrect feeling. Like people are afraid of heights when they're standing on a glass bridge, and all your emotion is telling you, I'm going to fall through this bridge, I'm going to die. And you are at no risk at all, because you know logically that it's a safe construction and you're not going to come to any harm. So this is a similar situation. Just try and remind yourself that the universe is safe. The problem here is not the universe. The problem here is your panic and fear, and what you can do about your anxiety. And then over a period of time, you should find that your anxiety, it may go away completely for weeks or months, and then it will come back with a big peak. That's very common for people. Not always, but it often does. And you might just, and often when you wake up in the morning, it might be a nightmare. I don't know why. It might be an unremembered nightmare. I don't know what it is, but people often, it's when they wake up in the morning. It's often when they suddenly get this panicking. And then just remind yourself of all these, you can go and get Tommi's debunk and reread it, and remind yourself of all these methods of seeing that it's not something to be scared of. And then maybe if this video helps, then you can try watching this video, and maybe that will help you when this happens. And for as long as I am committed to helping people who are panicking about things. So as long as I'm available and to the limits of what I've got available by way of time, then I will answer and help you as often as much as I can, and as often as I can. And I'm hopefully that this is giving you tools that you can use yourself if for some reason you can't contact me, and as well just to have something to help you in this way. And so I did this video partly so people have something, and partly because some people are helped much better by video than they are by text message. So some of you might find this video useful and hopefully help you to be just a little bit less scared of this. And then over time, then the people who I was first helping, just going back to, I can't remember where I first started all this, but it's quite a few years ago now. And so there's some people who contact me who were scared back then. They're just completely over it, even the ones who were very, very panicky. And then there are a few who have, there's some that, there's one or two you hear from them, and then you reassure them, and then after a period of time, which might sometimes take some days or weeks sometimes, but then they get over it and they're back again. And it's impossible really to predict, except that I think some people are especially sensitive to this for some reason, but it's got the combination of that and panicking for quite a long time and not seeing the debunk, because the debunk is very effective if you get it early on when you've only just heard of this idea. So, and that also can hopefully help you just think, well, you know, if I got this debunk right at the beginning, I wouldn't be scared of this at all. So why should I be scared of this now? And so that might also help. I just think, you know, it's obviously just because you've been panicking all this time that you're scared. It's not because there's any real risk that you need to worry about. And it's just your panic telling you false messages because it's repeated so often. You're very safe. The universe has been out for a vast time. It's almost impossible to understand how many millennia there've been, when nothing has happened in all this time. All those kings and queens, all those past past types of animals, going back to the first humans, going back to the dinosaurs, going back to long before that. And so the universe is very, very safe indeed. So hopefully this helps. So and I'll put the link to the in case you come across this on YouTube instead of coming across it via the blog page. I'll put a link to the blog in the video description. So do check down in the video description. I'll pop this here, and then I can pop the video into this as well with a link to the video into my fact check.